911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency?
Be advised, Car 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution.
Hi, everybody. How are you guys doing? It's good to see you all. I'm just adjusting my microphone. Guys, make sure you let me know if you hear me okay. I was having some sound issues earlier, and StreamYard is lagging. So I apologize for that. I hope it's not going to be too bad. I've really shut down pretty much all my extra stuff to help on my end. Hey, Pigeon. Hey, Melissa. Hi, Jill. How are you? Hey, help me, Rhonda. How are you? Hi, Mary Flynn. Hey, Ray Jones. Hey, Sees Through All. Hey, Miss Thang. How are you? So good to see you. So it does seem that I'm lagging a lot. So try and bear with me, guys. I hope it gets better. I've been gone for a week, so it's been weird. And honestly, I was not feeling great at all. So I really was not on my computer much. I mean, I really wasn't. I had tons and tons and tons of emails to get through this morning when I finally sat down to work on some stuff for the channel. I just had a really bad cold. Hey, Jerry Jones, how are you? My grandchildren decided to share, and they were with me the weekend before last, and then I had them on that Monday for President's Day, they were off school. So I had my middle one and my youngest one, and my youngest one had a cold, and he is the one who gave it to me. And because of the asthma, whenever I get a cold, it usually just overtakes me. I really didn't think it was going to be that bad in the beginning. Those first couple days, I was like, oh, this isn't bad at all. I had just a little sore throat, and then it just went nuts from there. So I ended up losing my voice, and so voice is back. So yeah, I wanted to let everybody know that one of the things I'm going to start doing monthly, usually I'm going to try to do it on my first live stream of the month, is I'm going to gift 10 memberships. So congratulations to everyone who got a free month membership with Behind the Crime Door. I hope you guys will enjoy it and that you will continue to support me through membership when it ends. Thank you again to everyone who sent me all of your well wishes, the prayers, the thanks, the texts, the support of me not being here. I was feeling really guilty about not being here. And everybody was so kind, and everybody who sent me the buy me a coffees, thank you. That is such a wonderful thing. And I love the gift of tea. As you well know, I don't drink coffee, but I do drink tea. And so it really was very nice of you all to do that. So there's been a lot going on in the true crime world since I've been away, for sure. And a lot of things that I want to catch up on. Plus, there's some new stuff that I want to cover as well. Hey, Maria, how are you, my dear? It's so good to see you. Everybody who ends up watching the live stream on replay, thank you so much for being here. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm Kristen, and welcome to Behind the Crime Door. If you become a member and join the channel and become a door, that's what we call our members here, is the doors. We have a really good crowd in here and a really nice chat. Most often, people are very respectful to one another here. We don't have a lot of the drama that some other channels may have, and I really try to make it a safe space for everyone to be here. Pigeon, it's so good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Hey, Boston, how are you? Hey, Tech Death. Oh, Lord, one of your pigs is loose. You better catch it. So, sorry, something in my eye. So, let's see what else. Hey, CJK, how are you? It's good to see you. For all of you that don't know, Tech Death Hippie raises guinea pigs, and so it sounds like he has a pig loose, which for him could be a bad thing, depending on whether there's other pigs out at the time. So let's hope he catches it and gets it put back in its home. So let's see. Oh no, she's inside a bed frame. Oh Lord. Oh, wow. But yeah, it's good to be back, and it's good to see all of you again. I have missed you. I've missed the interaction. I've been missing out on some of the true crime stuff, and I will say that the last week I've been laid up so much and doing a lot of sleeping, but I did get a chance to watch a lot of the end of the Alex Murdaugh trial. And if you all have not heard, the verdict did come in about 2 hours ago. And he was found guilty on all counts. The jury was out for 3 hours in his case. It's not a case that I really did cover, but I know it was a case that a lot of people were interested in, but they did find him guilty. And it was very quick. Again, this trial lasted 6 weeks, and I thought it was interesting listening to the judge today because he was talking about how long it had been, and I'm an old person, as you guys all know, and have been around a while. And I was just remembering the O.J. Simpson case that was 8 months long. So this case was nothing compared to what the O.J. jurors had to go through. But it does sound like they must have had their minds pretty much made up, because there's no way that they went through all of that evidence in the jury room and talked about it all. There was just too much for them to do in 3 hours. So anyway, he's going to be sentenced tomorrow morning at 9:30, and he's facing 30 years minimum on each count, maximum life in prison on each count of murder. And so from everything that I've been able to read and follow, I did watch a lot of the coverage myself. I just didn't cover it here on my channel. I believe the jury got it right. I believe that he's guilty. I don't believe that there was room to believe that anyone else could have done it. There were just too many things that were red flags that really pointed to I don't know, to his guilt, I guess. I did find it ironic that today they had to dismiss a juror for the first time in the trial, and it was for juror misconduct. The juror actually spoke to people, I think 3 at least, about the case and discussed it. And this came to the light of the court, and they talked to this person the day before yesterday, and the court did its own investigation and came to the conclusion that it was in the best interest of the case to replace her. And I thought that was very interesting that it happened on the last day of the trial. But anyway, so they did replace her with one of the alternates, and that happened earlier in the day. Hey, John, good to see you, my dear. Welcome, welcome. And I thought it was funny because when the judge was dismissing her, he came out and said that he didn't think that anything she did was intentional, but he also said that he wondered if she had anything with her, and she said she'd left her stuff back in the jury room, and he asked her what she had, and she said 12 eggs, her purse, and a bottle of water. And the court erupted in laughter over the 12 eggs. It was truly a moment. I mean, everybody, even Alex Murdaugh, was laughing. They all were. It was just really weird. So craziness. So that's pretty much what happened in that case today. And I did think it was interesting that they're going to do sentencing right away. They didn't delay sentencing or anything. They're going to sentence him tomorrow morning at 9:30. I do apologize, guys. I'll be drinking a lot tonight because I'm hoping, going to stay off my cough, which I still have. And it sounds pretty bad when I do cough. So I want to try and keep from doing that if I can. So that is it on the Alex Murdaugh trial. I wanted to tell you guys about this case that I heard about this past week that I thought was interesting. And I don't know if you guys have heard of this person or not, but this happened a while ago, but there's new information in this case. So I'm going to talk about that. It was a hospital respiratory therapist who denied being a serial killer, and she has just been charged with murder of a second patient. According to the court documents, which we'll go through, a former hospital respiratory therapist suspected of being involved in the deaths of 9 patients under her care was formally charged on Wednesday with first-degree murder in connection with the death of a 37-year-old patient. According to court documents obtained by People, prosecutors accused Jennifer Ann Hall of killing David Wesley Harper, 37, more than 20 years ago, on March 21st, 2002, administering an unprescribed pharmaceutical to him at a Chillicothe, Missouri hospital. Harper was battling bronchitis when he was admitted to Heinrich Medical Center on March 18, 2002. 3 days later, Hall, now 42, allegedly told nursing staff she entered Harper's room and found him seated on the edge of his bed. Harper allegedly told her he felt ill before falling backwards on his bed in complete respiratory arrest, Hall said per the documents, and he later died. At the time of his death, Hall was allegedly found with a vial of succinylcholine in her pocket, which was not certified to be administered by her. The substance used to take Mr. Harper's life paralyzes the victim's muscles, including the diaphragm, causing the victim to suffer a ghastly death from suffocation, while still maintaining full consciousness and awareness that they are unable to breathe and are dying, the documents read. During Hall's employment at Heinrich Medical Center from December 2001 through May of 2002, the rate of cardiac collapse incidents rose alarmingly. These incidents were viewed as medically suspicious by hospital staff. 18 such incidents allegedly occurred during her 5-month employment stint, resulting in 9 deaths. According to court documents, prior to Hall's employment, the hospital averaged 1 cardiac collapse incident a year. In 2012, amid speculation of her involvement in the patient's deaths, Hall agreed to an interview with KMBC where she denied being a serial killer. Now remember that she would have been 22 years old when these incidents were happening. It's shocking to know that somebody can think something so horrible of you, and the real truth is out there somewhere, Hall told the news station at the time. This is the second murder charge Hall is facing. In May of 2022, she was charged with first-degree murder in connection to the death of a 75-year-old patient, Fern Franco, and she pleaded not guilty. Because of Hall's singular proximity to stricken patients, her access to pharmaceuticals, which are deadly if misused, and her discovery and method of notifying staff of every patient's cardiac emergency, nursing staff believed Hall was responsible for the patient's death. Hall's defense attorney, Molly Hastings, told People that she plans to enter a plea of not guilty to the second murder charge as well. Hastings says that I look forward to the opportunity to defend her against each and every one of these allegations and believe the evidence will support an acquittal when we have our day in court. I just thought that that case sounded wild, and I don't remember it. But my Lord, 20 years it took them to charge her. That is just crazy. Seriously. Yes, CJK, I agree. Once the hospital has two similar suspicious deaths, you'd think they could figure it out sooner than they seem to. Camera footage, access to meds. Yeah, you know, they have really, really gotten good at how especially the really strong drugs are dispensed on the floors in the hospitals. They have them locked down to almost where the dosage is actually what is given out now. It's not like they have access to a whole bunch of the medicine. They're actually giving out in dose amounts now. But yeah, it's really scary. Yeah, the nurse that in the UK that murdered the babies, the nurse over on the East Coast that was murdering people, they just did a movie about that case. I think it was on Netflix just like 2 months ago. And yeah, they all have to swipe their badge now to dispense medication. They've just gotten a lot stricter. So, I mean, that's all good, but it's really sad. And sometimes in these smaller hospitals, it makes you wonder, you know, what their protocols and practices are, because it is pretty doggone scary when you stop and think about where is a prime place for a serial killer who just has the mindset of killing. Where would they want to be? A hospital would be a great place. A nursing home would be another one. And we know for a fact that they have people out there called angels of death, that's what they do. And it's frightening. So there was a update on a Kokomo murder that happened in Kokomo, Indiana. It's a decade-old murder case. More than 10 years after the woman was found shot to death inside her home, the Kokomo police finally have two suspects in custody. On February 7th of 2013, officers with the Kokomo Police Department were called to the 800 block of James Drive after they received a report of a shooting shortly after 9:30 p.m. When they arrived, they found 21-year-old Destiny Renee Pittman unconscious and unresponsive. Shortly afterwards, she would succumb to her injuries. And in the early stages of their investigation, the investigators with the department learned about the possibility of a home invasion in connection with Pittman's death. They learned that two armed suspects may have forced their way inside the residence and shooting Pittman when she confronted them. The investigation led police to identify 32-year-old Joey McCartney and 36-year-old Jesse McCartney as suspects in the case. On Thursday, officers with the department, along with the U.S. Marshals Service, executed arrest warrants and multiple search warrants. Around 6 a.m., U.S. Marshals arrested Joey at a residence in Graham, Kentucky. About 2 hours later, officers and U.S. Marshals arrested Jesse at a Kokomo residence. Both men face a murder charge, and anyone with additional information about this case is asked to call the Kokomo Police Department at 765-456-7017. So that is that. I wanted to update you on there was new information that came out. We're going to talk a couple of things on this case. Madeleine McCann material evidence that the missing girl is dead, say the German prosecutors. So German prosecutors have claimed that there is material evidence that Madeleine McCann is dead. And speaking to Portuguese broadcasters, public prosecutor Hans Christian Wolters told investigators that, I'm sorry, sorry guys, told reporters that investigators have evidence that the British girl who disappeared from a holiday resort in Portugal in 2007 had died. When asked whether there was any material evidence that Madeleine, who was 3 years old when she disappeared, is dead, Mr. Walters replied yes. However, he did refuse to elaborate when asked what that evidence is. They have identified the convicted pedophile and rapist Christian Brechner as a prime suspect in the case. Brechner, who is currently serving a sentence in North Germany for drug trafficking, insists he was not involved in Madeleine's disappearance. He is appealing against a conviction for rape that took place in 2005. His lawyer, Frederick Fulcher, told The Sun on Monday he had proof that Brechner was innocent and that the German authorities have the wrong man. According to the newspaper, Mr. Walters admitted in an interview with Portuguese TV show Sexta as 9 last Friday that there was no smoking gun evidence against this suspect. He said, "All I can say is this. It's like a puzzle, and there are so many pieces that led us to believe Christian Brechner is responsible." In July, police searched an allotment in Germany near where Brechner used to live, and he formerly lived in both Hanover and Braunschweig, under an hour's drive from the allotment. It's emerged last week that police have been searching at the allotment for computer memory sticks that are believed to have been used by this suspect, but they have declined to say whether or not anything has been found. In 2016, police uncovered memory sticks during a separate search of a former factory 30 miles from Braunschweig. The devices contain more than 8,000 files, including media files showing much abuse of minors. The files also include about 100 pictures of Brechner partially nude. So that's the news out of Germany about Brechner. And the other information that I wanted to share with you on her case, I'm looking for my tab. Hold on a second, guys. I'm looking for it. Where is it? Oops. The woman that everybody had heard talked about whether or not she may or may not have been Madeleine McCann. They are now saying that she is not, and that it is things like this that can get the family's hopes up, and that she is just not, and it's just a horrible situation that was going on there. I can't find my article on it, but it was a big article. So, oh, here it is. Found it. So, Julia Wendell has been ruled out as being Madeleine McCann. And it went viral this week when she claimed that she was, and she hadn't, and said that she had evidence to back up her claim. Well, the police in Poland said they ruled out the possibility that she is the missing toddler. They told Polish news outlet Gazetta on Thursday, a day after Wendell's family put out a statement denying her claims, saying they were devastated at the current situation. The police said they have not yet completed their investigation, but they had already managed to rule out the possibility that she is McCann, although they did not share how they reached the conclusion. The New York Post reported on Thursday that Wendell's family was refusing to take a DNA test to prove they are genetically related to her. And her mother told the Post that she can prove Wendell is her daughter through photos and a birth certificate. Julia claims to be Maddie. She went on viral on social media in the last week after she made numerous videos in which she claimed to be Madeleine McCann, who disappeared at the age of 3 when on holiday with her British family in Portugal. In her videos, Wendell said that she thinks she is McCann because they have the same eye defect, as well as other evidence she claimed to have. According to Wendell, her parents avoided talking to her about her childhood memories, parts of which is missing and are blurry to her. She also said that while her parents told her she had attended the same primary school the whole time, her teacher has told her that that was not true. She also added that when she was young, she was abused by a German pedophile, and she said that he could be the same man who was arrested last year in connection with the McCann case. Wendell said that the McCanns had reached out to her through a representative and asked her to take a DNA test. So that's what's going on there. The family says that she has issues. So it's interesting to see why. It's interesting that the family will not take DNA test to see if it's possible. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens with all of that. But I just feel bad for the McCann family when this kind of stuff happens. So we're going to talk about Idaho and we're going to talk about Delphi. I'm going to go to Idaho first because there's a little less on Idaho than what we're going to talk about on Delphi tonight. So you guys have probably heard that Brian Kohberger's case had documents released this past week about what was seized in this search warrant in Pennsylvania. And they seized a knife. I think it's a pocket knife, though. Phone, masks, black masks. The Pennsylvania courts had sealed that search warrant for 60 days. That's why it has now been released. There has been a lot of talk this past week in Idaho about the fact that there's a lot of information that is being leaked. As we all know, there is a gag order in this case, and the judge is not happy about the leaks that are happening around the case. If you guys are following at all, Ashley Banfield on News Nation keeps coming out with quote unquote sources close to the investigation with information. And this can be very detrimental to cases when this happens. And I understand that the public wants to know and everybody wants to know things, but there's certain things that we shouldn't get to know until cases go to court for this very reason. And we're going to talk about this a little bit on Saturday when I go over the Scott Peterson case, because I've touched on it a little bit in other cases that I've covered with you guys, but being tried in the court of public opinion isn't something that should happen to people. It's just not something that should happen. Back in the day, 100 years ago, 150 years ago, when there wasn't television and there wasn't the ability to reach the masses with information. Court cases like that, people didn't know what was happening in them unless they were actually in the courtroom, or they were reading the account that was written by the newspaper people that were sitting in the court, and they would cover the case. And that's when you would find out about evidence. That's when you would find out about what the prosecution may have against whoever it was that they were trying to convict for the crime. Nowadays, it's everywhere. It's all over social media. It's media driven. These cases blow up so fast and so furious. I was talking to one of my good friends who's a content creator on YouTube in true crime, and he and I were discussing the fact that it's almost like he compared it to fan fiction. It's almost like these cases become fan fiction, and Delphi for sure. We're going to talk about that, and we're also starting to see it in the Idaho case, in my opinion. And for sure, it's it's around some of these cases. Just a second, guys. Sorry. Okay, guys, sorry. So yeah, we just need to keep that in mind as we're starting to cover the cases and talk about them. Summer Wells is another. Well, you knew that it was going to happen, you guys, at some point tonight, right? Yeah, I'm okay, Maria. Sorry. But we could go on, but yeah, some of these cases have just gotten out of hand. So, getting back to Brian Koberger, the Pennsylvania court unsealed the additional documents in the Idaho student murders case, and they revealed the police seized a knife during a raid on the suspect's parents' home in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania State Police and the FBI arrested Brian at his parents' home in the Pocono Mountains on December 30th during a nighttime tactical raid. They searched his home, they searched the car, the garage, and a shed on the property. The new warrants reveal police took a door panel from his car, seat cushions, headrests, seat belts, a visor, a brake and gas pedal, a Band-Aid, maps and documents, and other items. They took several weapons from the house, including that knife, a Glock handgun with 3 magazines. They took a cell phone, a laptop, black face masks, as well as black hats. The list also included a prescription, a green leafy substance in a container, vehicle paperwork, and other documents, including a phone bill and a handwritten password, and a book with underlining on page 118. I'll be right back, guys. I'm back. um, they took a computer, hardware, paperwork from Washington State University, and a spiral notebook. Sorry, guys, but I'm back. um, so they also took a spiral notebook, and they were basically look for any evidence that would connect them to the victims. And they also were looking for evidence that he'd been surveilling them or compiling information on them. The 4 a.m. ambush attack killed 21-year-old University of Idaho students Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, and their 20-year-old housemate, Xana Kernodle, and her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, who was also 20 years old. Koberger, who is 28-year-old criminology PhD student at Washington State University during the attack, is accused of stabbing all 4 undergrads to death on November 13th, 2022. The schools are about 7 miles apart. Okay, guys, sorry about that. I took some cough medicine, so let's hope that it um, fixes what's going on here. I thought I'd be able to get through alive, but I might not be able to. Um, One of the witnesses told police she saw a man in dark clothes and a black mask with bushy eyebrows leaving out a back door after the murders. And police seized numerous pieces of dark clothing, gloves, and masks from Brian Koberger's parents' house, where he returned for Christmas break after finishing his semester in Washington, which we now know he was fired from his job as a teaching assistant. They took ID cards that were located inside the glove box in the car. They also took a shop vac. According to previously released court documents, police found a K-bar knife sheath near Maddie's body and recovered a DNA sample from the snap. During the raid, police also discovered a sheathed kitchen knife at the Koberger home, according to the Thursday documents, and a pocket knife. The genetics matched a familial sample taken from the trash outside Koberger's parents' house, which is what led to his arrest. On Tuesday, additional documents confirmed that police performed a buccal swab on the suspect when they arrested him on December 30th, which is a cheek swab for DNA. Okay, so the other thing that happened in Idaho this week is that the owner of the house has gifted the house to the University of Idaho. And the University of Idaho has decided to tear the house down. And they do not want it to become a place where people just drive by to gawk at it, take photos. People are already doing that. They have the house completely boarded up. The windows are all boarded up. And they have put a fence up around the house. I don't know. I don't think they've actually said when the house will be leveled, but they said it will be sometime this semester. They are going to do some sort of a memorial garden on campus for the kids. And that will be at a later date. And that's the updates that I have on the Idaho case. Again, he will be in court on June 26th, which is his next court date. And it'll be really interesting to see where we go from there. He has 4 counts of first-degree murder and a felony burglary charge. That's what he's facing. Oh, that's right, CJK. Thank you for bringing that up. It is said that he has pictures of one of the girls. They didn't say which one of them, but he did have them, and he was saving them. He had them in his billfold wallet, and he had them. He did follow all 3 of the girls on social media. Thank you, CJK. I had forgotten about that as well. And as we know, they do not have to come up with a motive. That's not something that has to be done to prove guilt in a court of law. And a lot of times they never know what the motive is. If the criminal that has done the crime doesn't choose to talk or say, they may never know. I also wanted to tell you about this because I thought this was unbelievable. College Park, Maryland's mayor. So College Park, Maryland's mayor, Patrick Wohan, has been arrested on 56 counts of possession and distribution of child pornography. The 47-year-old mayor was identified as the owner of a social media account that had been uploading child pornography in January. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children notified the PGPD of the account on February 17th. A little over a week later, the department searched the mayor's home in College Park and recovered cell phones, a tablet, a computer, and a storage device. Wohan was taken into police custody early Thursday morning on 40 counts of possession of child exploitative material and 16 counts of distribution. The mayor submitted his letter of resignation late Wednesday evening, and the City of College Park Council released the statement Thursday. He's been serving as mayor since 2015. And his letter stated, "It has been a profound honor and privilege to serve the City of College Park since 2007 as a city council member and as your mayor. However, effective immediately, I must resign my position." Wohan wrote, "While this investigation does not involve any official city business of any kind, it is in the best interests of our community that I step aside and not serve as a distraction." Wohan said he was cooperating with law enforcement and that he was internally grateful for the well wishes of his supporters. "I'm stepping away to deal with my own mental health," he added. I'm just like floored. Okay. So let's see. Let's talk about one other thing that I did find that I forgot to say, that I thought this was interesting. There was an article that came out this week in the Daily Mail, and they came up and said that Brian Koberger was a withdrawn teenager who was fired from his job as a fish cutter after just 3 weeks because he couldn't get the hang of using a knife. The accused quadruple murderer's former boss, Charles Conklin, told Daily Mail that Kohberger lasted just 20 days at Big Brown Fish and Pay Lakes in Pennsylvania. He was a loner. He had that kind of a personality. He was somewhat difficult, withdrawn, and very shy. Conklin revealed, adding that the accused killer was so unskilled with a knife that he never let the teenager fillet fish for customers. I don't know if that's relevant, but the fact that he was difficult, withdrawn, and very shy does speak to the demeanor of what he was like back then. And his boss revealed that Kohberger's early attempts at employment fell flat, as he was never a part of the team as his job as a fish cutter. He was young, though. He was only 15 or 16 years old and was kind of withdrawn. He definitely stayed to himself. Brian didn't want to help anyone at work. He liked to sit down when no one was really looking and never wanted to help. And he never got the hang of it. He would train with the fish, but we never let him fillet them for the customers. The fishing lake boss added that after the Idaho quadruple murders shocked the nation, he didn't even realize it was him until a fellow staffer made the connection. I can't believe it is such a horrible thing. You feel so bad for the families, and you hate to now see him like this, but he never became part of our team. He said, the news was so shocking to me. You'd never want to think he could do something so crazy. And being from our area, too, it just makes you think. He said, I have no words. He was also fired from his teaching position at Washington State University for behavioral problems just days before he was arrested for allegedly murdering the 4 Idaho students. His employment troubles seemed to carry through into his late 20s, as he reportedly had multiple altercations with professors. His run-ins with Professor John Snyder led the educator to pull Kohberger into a meeting to discuss his professional behavior, which led the suspect to become more feisty and belligerent with coworkers. He was subsequently fired from his teaching duties on December 19th, just days before his arrest in Pennsylvania on December 30th. So, it will be really interesting to see how this continues to play out. It does still remain a mystery as to why these 4 students were targeted in this vicious attack. But it seems that he may have been infatuated or obsessed with at least one of the female inhabitants of the home. So we'll just have to wait to see. It's just shocking and so sad to see the pictures of the kids and know what was lost that day. It's just frightening that there's those types of individuals out there living amongst us. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Delphi, and I'm sure you guys have heard of this Kentucky case that is all over the Delphi community. People are talking about it. The Inquisitor put out the video about it yesterday or Wednesday, I think. No, yesterday. Yeah, Tuesday or Wednesday. I can't remember now. And since then, everybody's just ran with it. There's a detective in Kentucky who's investigating a 2011 double murder that said there may be a possible connection between his case and Delphi. This happened in Boone County, Kentucky. This is a cold case in their county, and they're investigating any possible connection between an unsolved double murder in 2011 and the 2017 killings of Abby Williams and Liberty German in Delphi, Indiana. The case in Kentucky that remains unsolved is the brutal murder of Bill and Peggy Stephenson. They're a 74-year-old couple who was found dead inside their home on May 29th, 2011. Bill was a minister and Peggy played the organ at a local church. No arrests have ever been made in their case. Detective Coy Cox is a cold case detective in Boone County, and he has been investigating the case for years. And he said the crime scene investigators found initially was staged, changed, moved, and altered. We know from a post-mortem injury that the killer or killers remained on the scene or came back to the scene anywhere from at least 3 hours after the murders up to 8 hours. They were able to change something in every room of the residence to where we actually had a scene that was not a crime scene, but it was the scene that those killers wanted us to find. Detectives found an unknown DNA profile at the scene, which has been entered into the CODIS database. However, exactly the Stephensons, exactly the Stephensons were killed has not been released publicly, but Cox described their cause of death as blunt force trauma. For years, Cox has received tips on the case, but he said he received several in the fall of 2022 suggesting a connection between the Stephensons case and the Delphi murders. The tips kept coming in, and then there was a moment where we got some information that particularly we thought could have a relationship to our case. He will not reveal what that tip was. However, it led Cox to travel to the Fort Wayne area to interview a truck driver who had a connection to Bill Stephenson. Cox said that man was fully cooperative. We took items that can be evaluated for evidentiary purposes, and I will not say what those items are. Based on what they have right now, Cox said they don't see a connection with the Delphi murders. However, he admits both are very rare both have very rare similarities in their crime scenes. A lot of those things, the staging, multiple victims, spending time post-mortem, a lot of those things make these kind of cases like the 1% kind of cases that you see. In May of 2022, Fox 59 obtained court records that described the Delphi crime scene. The murderer likely took a souvenir from the crime scene, according to the document, and it appeared the girls' bodies were moved and staged. Cox made it clear that he does not believe Richard Allen, the man accused in the Delphi murders, had anything to do with the Stephensons murders. However, during one of Allen's first court hearings, Carroll County prosecutor Nicholas McClellan said in a court that there was good reason to believe Allen is not the only one involved. Could one of these other people have a connection to the Stephenson case? That's something Cox and his partner continue to investigate. Cox said he has shared all the information he's gathered with the Indiana State Police, and Indiana State Police said it could not comment on this story because of the gag order that has been imposed on the Richard Allen case. The detective said since this information has come to light, his office has received numerous tips, and he hopes people continue to provide any information they can. So I know that that was pretty wild and really crazy stuff. I know when Maria told me about it earlier this week, I was just floored. I couldn't believe it. I still have trouble wrapping my head around it. I just don't think that there's a possibility that these cases are related. It's like the victimology is so different So, I definitely think that it's probably because of a tip that talked about the staging in Delphi. As he said, those are the things that kind of led them, a double homicide staging, which we know. But yeah, I just can't believe that one. But anyway, those are the kinds of things when that kind of stuff comes out in the midst of a case like this, where Richard Allen has been charged with the murders of Abby and Libby. He's not had his day in court yet, and we still have other investigations. And Rose brings up a really good point. Could Allen's lawyers be throwing it out there for reasonable doubt? Most definitely. I apologize, guys. I really thought that I was going to be able to do this tonight, and my voice is not going to last, I don't think. But so yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I'm glad that the Inquisitor put it out there, because obviously we've got another jurisdiction in another state looking at Delphi, and it just means they're covering all their bases. Somebody tipped it in. It's not like they went looking. They got a tip. So somebody tipped this in. So what I think is great to know is that they're following their tips. They're investigating their tips. And that to me says a lot about that law enforcement jurisdiction there in Kentucky surrounding this case, because they're obviously doing their due diligence and checking out every lead. Of course, that's what you would want, because if there are other players involved, you want to make sure that those people are caught and held accountable as well, for sure. I mean, it's the only thing that any of us would want to have happen in this case. But I did wonder, and I did speak to the Inquisitor about it. We had a conversation about what this may mean for the Delphi case, and Rose brings up a really good point. These are the kinds of things that put reasonable doubt into jurors' minds. Things like this being brought up. And if any of you haven't watched the closing arguments by the prosecution in the Murdaugh trial, I highly suggest that you go find it. The Law and Crime Network covered the trial really well, and there is all different kinds. They covered it so well that they actually broke down and made YouTube videos that are very short in retrospect. It's not like you have to watch an hour and a half video of all the closing argument. They actually broke it up into sections. Some of them are 15 minutes, 14 minutes. Some of them are 20 minutes. And you need to go watch those, because they give an instruction or definition to the jury about what reasonable doubt is, what it is you have to look at when you're deliberating. And from me trying to educate everyone, that we've talked about this and how it works in the court of law. And it doesn't matter what your theory is, what you may think happened, or anything. You have to look at the evidence that's presented to you in that courtroom, Nothing else. So nothing that's been suggested on social media or theories you've heard on social media or anything like that can come into play when you're sitting in that jury room trying to deliberate a case. Only the evidence. So it's really good to understand what it is they're supposed to do and what they're supposed to look at. As far as yeah, Melissa, he purposely doesn't have his comments on his videos. He's not looking for comments on his videos. He's just putting out the information. So the murder sheet probably took their comments off because they were probably getting a lot of nasty ones. And they just decided that it was easier for them to not have them on. But yeah, you have the ability as a creator to either have comments on or comments off, and you can adjust them per videos. But yeah, I'm kind of torn, like I said, with this kind of information again, as you can see, and we're going to talk about it a lot on Saturday night when I go over the Scott Peterson case with Lacey Peterson and that case, and how he was absolutely tried in the court of public opinion, and how that can be so detrimental to a case in so many ways. I just don't want to see that happen with Delphi, because the case has gotten so big and so crazy. We now know that the state of Indiana is allowing cameras in the courtroom, and it's up to the judge's discretion on whether or not that happens. It'll be interesting to see if that does happen for the Delphi case, if Frances Gull decides to allow cameras in her courtroom for this case. The Scott Peterson and Lacey Peterson case, Lacey Peterson was a 8-month pregnant mother, first-time mother, who went missing on December 24th, 2002. And in Modesto, California. And it was later determined 4 months later, her body washed up on the shores of the San Francisco Bay, along with her unborn fetus, Connor. He was a few hundred yards, 100 yards or 200 yards away from her. And her husband, Scott Peterson, was eventually convicted of her murder and sentenced to death. And we're going to talk about that case. Hey, Fusa. Oh, CJK, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for being here and supporting me. I appreciate that. Interesting. Okay, sorry. I just gotten a message on Messenger I was reading. So yeah, we're going to discuss that on Saturday night. With my daughter will be here with me. And we're going to break that case down. But yeah, it's there's a lot to be talked about, I guess, out there still about Delphi. And oh, thank you, Fusa. I'm good. You missed it. I've been coughing my head off for the last hour. I thought I was better, and I have been. I haven't been coughing, but then again, I haven't been talking either. So I've stayed off my phone. I haven't been talking to friends because I had completely lost my voice, and I was just really trying to get the stuff to be, to be gone. And I'm actually breathing really well. I haven't had to use my inhaler much at all. It is this cough, because the cold was in my head, and I had the congestion and all of that, and then it just kind of went down south like it always does and settled in my bronchial tubes. So it is what it is. I just have to thank my grandson for giving it to me. So what do you guys think about what's going on? What are your thoughts? What are some of your thoughts about hearing about this case, the Stephenson case with Delphi, or any of the things that we covered tonight? Do you guys have anything that you guys want to talk about as far as what we've discussed tonight? What I covered, either with Brian Kohberger or Delphi? I just wondered kind of what you guys' thoughts were. Yeah, I haven't heard about the item that they're honing in on. I know that they talked to a truck driver. I think that they were looking at this truck driver as as a possible suspect, is what I'm taking from the Inquisitor when I spoke to him. And after he and I had our conversation this afternoon, he doesn't believe that they're connected, but it's definitely interesting. But I definitely find it interesting that somebody tipped it in. That's where I'm at with it. Is who is that? Who tipped that in? And I'm kind of like Rose, because I'm that person that just kind of, I always look for the strangeness, and I'm like, who would benefit from doing that? And is that planting reasonable doubt in a case? And it would be interesting. Okay, Maria, I will definitely take a look at that, because I must have missed that. Yeah, Pigeon Mac, I'm wondering about those too. And from things that I already know, and things that I've seen about the Brian Kohberger, I believe that it's probably pictures of Maddie. That's what I'm thinking, but obviously we're not going to know until he goes to court. Yeah, CJK, that's pretty much how everybody in the country believed, because of the way the case was tried in the media. And I think everybody felt that he was guilty. However, I am one of those people that didn't believe they proved their case. I'm one of the people that believed there was enough reasonable doubt And I'll explain why on Saturday of why I felt that way. Again, there was truly no evidence found of blood in their home. There was just so many things that just didn't add up. The fact that more than 11 people saw Lacey after he left for work that morning, because he went to his work site to pick up his boat before he went fishing. But we'll go over all of that on Saturday. And, the whole fact that he was having an affair and that he lied about it, that part never bothered me either, because if every man who has ever cheated on his wife, if he was looked at as a murderer just because he lied to his wife and cheated on her, we wouldn't have enough jails for those men. So that wasn't the part that got me. The part that got me was the fact he told his girlfriend that his wife had gone missing, or had gone missing. I'm sorry. I apologize. That his wife had passed away weeks before she actually went missing. So, yeah, that was the part that I thought, wow, that's pretty bad. But we'll go over all of that, because there's a lot of things that left reasonable doubt in my mind in that case. And you can see it on both sides, because you got to remember, when you're watching documentaries are supposed to be, depending on the documentary, the documenter, the person who's creating it, what is their point of it? Is it to convince you of something, or is it just to tell the story? If it's just to tell the story, they should have everything in it. And it shouldn't be one-sided. And a lot of these documentaries that you watch are one-sided, and they're pushing a narrative. They're pushing a narrative of either guilt or innocence. And you have to realize that when you're watching them. And so many of them come out and make it sound like, we're just giving you the facts of the case, but they leave out all the stuff that they don't want you to know about, or they don't talk about it. And there's a lot in this. And the fact that Scott, is where he's at. I mean, his sentence was reduced from death to life in prison. We'll talk about that and why. It's just an interesting case. And I think we should cover it. So that's what's going to happen. But I'm going to go ahead, guys, and hop off here. It's been an hour and a half, and I'm going to give my voice a rest. I can't tell you how much I missed all of you. I really have. And I will get this all fixed and get better. I'm continuing to work on it. And I have to kind of obviously play it day by day. I didn't expect to be gone a whole week. But obviously, here we are. And I'm glad that I was able to at least spend this time with you tonight. And I'm sorry, everyone, for all the coughing that I did. But I also wanted to tell you, this is what my hair looks like when I just let it dry, air dry. So it's this is my my natural mop. I've been giving it a break on blow drying it, so, and trying to just kind of let it dry. And man, it's still wet from this morning, so I'm gonna have to be up late tonight because I don't like to go to bed with a wet head. Oh, you guys are so nice. Thank you so much. John, it's so good to see you. I hope you're well. I have missed you. And Rose, it's always good to see you. For all of you who, support me and follow me and send me all the great messages and all of the wonderful texts and emails, I appreciate you all. You help me stay positive and through all of this, because it's really tough sometimes. We all have stuff, right? And but Maria's my champion. She keeps checking on me. She keeps she keeps a good eye. She's got my back. I got hers. So we've got that, right? I talked to GonZo today. He's doing great, you guys. He took a sabbatical off of social media way back in November, at the end of November, and he won't be back on social media until around April. But I'll try to get him back on a show when he's back on, coming around doing social media stuff again, because I miss him as well. And I just wanted to let you guys know that he was with Perry last week, so they're doing great. Good night, Jerry. Thank you so much for being here. Everybody take care of yourself, and I will see you all on Saturday. Good night, everyone.